For many young Muslims navigating the complexities of the modern world, the search for intellectual clarity is a constant journey. We look for spaces that don't just offer rituals, but provide a rigorous intellectual framework to understand our faith in a secular age. Enter the i3 Institute. Branding itself as intellectual, international, and independent, i3 presents a compelling vision. It promises to enlighten, empower, and educate the Ummah through a structured methodology aimed at desecularizing the Muslim mind. On the surface, it appears to be a haven for those seeking deep knowledge and a sense of unified purpose. But behind the polished branding and the promise of intellectual liberation, a different story is being told by those who lived it. Today, we begin a series looking into the i3 reality, a narrative constructed from the first-hand accounts of former members who joined seeking truth, but left with deep-seated concerns. To understand the problems, we first have to understand why people join. Former members describe a similar starting point. They encountered i3 through social media or local circles and were immediately struck by the Institute's confidence. It wasn't just about learning, it was about belonging to a frontier of Islamic revival. For many, finding i3 felt like finally finding the missing piece. The joining process is often described as an intellectual honeymoon. New members are welcomed into a community of sincere, dedicated individuals eager to serve. There is a palpable energy, a feeling that you are finally part of something that matters. The curriculum seems rigorous and the leadership appears to possess a level of certainty that is deeply attractive in an era of doubt. For a time, the external noise of the world fades away, but as many members eventually found, that rhythm began to feel more like a restriction than a guide. The shift is rarely immediate. It's a slow realization. As members moved deeper into the organization, the personal toll began to mount. Accounts from former members describe a culture where adab, refined character, was often reported as missing at the highest levels. While the Institute preaches unity and character, former students recount experiences of what they describe as mistreatment by senior members. There is a recurring theme of competence versus appearance. While the Institute claims intellectual superiority, former members describe a leadership style they characterized as dismissive and at times toxic. Feedback was not welcomed and instead, according to those who experienced it, it was met with defensiveness or dismissed as a lack of sincerity. What former members describe as a culture of control began to replace the sense of community they originally joined for. Personal boundaries were blurred in the name of the dawah. Many found themselves asking, if this is the path to enlightenment, why is there so much internal friction? The concerns, however, go beyond individual experiences. Former members and critics have highlighted structural and ideological issues as significant red flags. First, there is what critics describe as ideological absolutism. According to those who have come forward, i3 treats its specific methodology regarding hakimiyya, divine sovereignty, and governance not just as one way of understanding this important component of Islam, but as the only way. Critics allege that disagreeing with the Institute's specific framework is framed internally as a departure from truth itself, creating what former members describe as a damaging us versus them mentality. Second is the concern around transparency. For an organization that claims intellectual depth, former members note a surprising absence of published or publicly scrutinizable methodology. According to those involved, different messages were given to different audiences, contributing to what critics describe as a culture of opacity. Finally, and perhaps most seriously, when former members began speaking publicly about their experiences, multiple individuals have alleged that the response included legal pressure directed at those who spoke out. According to former members who have come forward, this was perceived as an attempt to silence concern rather than address it. The accounts shared by former members are not simply complaints. They are calls for accountability from people who genuinely care about the integrity of this community. This video is the introduction to a larger conversation. In part 2, we will be presenting specific documented accounts and the evidence behind the claims made in this video. It is time to look beyond the branding and examine what former members say is the reality. If you have had your own experience with i3, the comments section below is open. The conversation has started. It does not stop here.